Hi guys, welcome back, and today I want to make a video about things I wish I knew before I went into recruiting. And I always want to make this video so for other people that are entering the world of recruiting, and predominantly if you're entering the world of being a third-party agency, being a staffing agency, a recruitment firm, a headhunter, these are things that I think would help you along your journey. I don't want to make this a long video and talk about 100 things, but I do want to mention at least 3 things that have been important to me on my journey when I started out at becoming a recruiter. The first thing I want to mention is recruiting is a relationship business. Especially as a headhunter, as a third-party agency, as a staffing company, you have to develop relationships with clients. And that is very important. It didn't really occur to me when I got into this industry. I got into this industry in a very different way than most people. Most people finish college and go into recruiting and spend their careers in recruiting. My way was unorthodox. I finished college in 2007 during the subprime collapse, and I, at that time, wanted to be a trader. Why? Because in '05 and '06 the markets were great, and all my friends and colleagues at Carnegie Mellon wanted to be traders or go into finance, and that's what I wanted to do. So I moved to Chicago in '07 to work in trading, and I was a horrible trader. The economy was dying all around us. Bear Stearns collapsed, Lehman Brothers collapsed. It was a terrible time to be a trader, and I went into it anyway. And I was a horrible trader. And then I went into IT. I moved back to Philly. At that time, I'm in Chicago. Moved back to Philly and went into IT. And I got onto one of the biggest SAP and IT implementations in the Philadelphia area for a company called AmerisourceBergen. If people don't know, that is the biggest company in the Philadelphia area. They had a huge SAP implementation, and people were like me were in high demand because there were SAP implementations all over the country. Companies needed people that knew SAP, and I would get called all the time by IT recruiters to switch jobs. They knew nothing about IT. I could run circles around them in IT. I could run circles around them in SAP. They just didn't know technology, didn't know how it relates, I could tell them that I had 5 years of experience in that technology. I was 3 years old, and they'd believe me because they had no freaking clue. They couldn't even spell SAP. That's how bad it was. And I saw that there was a niche in the market for someone like me that actually knew SAP, knew IT. I saw that there was a problem, and I went with the solution, that I was a solution. The problem with this was the way that recruiting works, and that goes to the first thing I was talking about, is recruiting is a relationship business. You have to build relationships with clients. And even though I knew SAP and knew IT better than anybody else in the field at that time, because I was SAP certified, I had SAP certifications, I was on the biggest implementations at the time, I knew configuration, I knew how to talk to stakeholders, like I knew when candidates were lying to me, I knew when candidates were telling me the truth, I had a huge network of SAP and IT people that I actually worked with, like in the SAP world, so I had a huge advantage, but clients wouldn't give me any time of day because they had relationships with other people. And recruiting is a people business. So there was only a few ways available for me to move up. I had to network, I had to pay to play by advertising, or I had to pay to network through going to conferences and joining clubs. Those were the 3 ways that were available to me, and I took advantage of all 3 of them. I went to networking events, I went to SAP Sapphire, I went to other conferences, I joined clubs, and I advertised. And slowly but surely, we gained clients. And that's why we are a $1.7 million organization now, with 11 of us here, and we're growing fast. But it took time. It literally took a decade. It took years to get to the point that we're at. And we also had to go into other fields. We were doing Salesforce staffing, NetSuite, Oracle EBS, Oracle Cloud, sales roles. We fill finance roles, fill a lot of executive roles. So we increased our divisions. We created new divisions, and we increased the services that we offer too. And that has really been a key to our success. But let's talk about other things that I wish I knew if I was going back into recruiting. Another thing I wish I knew if I was going into recruiting today was making mistakes is really important to finding the right candidates for our clients. It just really is. Sometimes you're going to submit 5 or 6 or more candidates to a client, and they're going to tell you, no, this one's not the right fit because of X. This one is too expensive. This one needs to relocate. I don't like that. This one doesn't have the accounting experience that I need, or if it's an IT role, this person doesn't have the configuration experience that I need, or this person doesn't come from the company I want. You don't know this until you talk to the client. You have to build a relationship with them. Of course, we try to save ourselves time and ask them questions before we start the search, but it always comes up that subconsciously a client knows something and they didn't tell us, or the person that we were talking to knew something, but there's 3 or 4 stakeholders, there's 3 or 4 decision makers, so the other decision makers didn't tell us that this is what they want. And over the time of submitting and getting feedback and getting these candidates rejected, literally getting these candidates rejected, we learn what the client actually wants, so that we staff the person on the 5th person we send, or on the 6th person we send. So it literally takes time. So if you really look at that, we staffed 1 out of 6. So that means our percentage of submitted candidates is 16%. If we weren't in school, we would have failed that. But that's not how the business world works. That's not how recruiting works. You have to make a lot of mistakes until you get it right. And that was hard for someone like me to learn, because I was always A and B student in high school and in college. Very, 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 very rarely would I get anything under a B minus. It was mostly A's and A minuses, because I was a really good student. I worked hard. And it was a really hard lesson for me to learn, because I was scared of making mistakes. So I was scared of submitting people. But in recruiting in the business world, that's the only way you get up. You have to make a lot of mistakes to succeed. And that's something that I learned, and that's something that I encourage you to know about if you're entering the recruiting field. Now, the third thing I want to talk about, this actually was an advantage to me, and it was about all hard work. All hard work gets rewarded. Why is it an advantage to me? The reason is because I do a lot of work. I work Sunday through Friday. Sometimes I even work on Saturdays. I work a lot. And it's really hard sometimes to see the fruits of your labor when you submit 5 people and they all got rejected. Obviously, we staff in the 6th. Sometimes it goes up to higher. Maybe we staff in the 7th or the 8th. Or you submit 5, 6 people and the client says, you know what, we picked another candidate from another staffing agency, which happens to us sometimes. Usually we win those competitions, but it does happen. Or they fill some role internally. So it's hard to see the silver lining when that happens. But believe me, if you go into recruiting, all hard work does get rewarded. Why? Because you probably have a database. We have our own database. And that person that was perfect for this role, for that specific client, can be used again for a different client. So this happens so many times, I can't even tell you, that we submit a candidate for a role, the client fills the role internally, but 2 or 3 months later, another similar role comes up, we have that candidate in our database, they're perfect, we resubmit them to this new client, and boom, we staff it. And it was great, because that hard work was rewarded. That hard work we did months ago of putting the late nights and working weekends to finding these people, and you think we wouldn't see anything from it? We did. But it just takes time to see the silver lining. So I hope this was useful for you to understand the recruiting industry and how it works. I hope you go into recruiting if you want to go into it. It's a cutthroat business, but if you work hard, you could be in the top 10% or top 5% or higher in the market. If you work hard and you show yourself to be able to be very communicative with your clients, build relationships with them, and be not afraid of taking risks and making mistakes. So thanks for watching. Don't forget to subscribe and hit the like button if you like this video, and stay tuned for the next video.